Mica, welcome to the podcast, to the Revenue Strategy Podcast. So today we're going to talk about AI and sales. And I'm very excited to meet you here because you're one of the founders of Amplemarket. So briefly introduce yourself and then let's go deep into the matter.
Thank you for having me, Cedric, and I'm excited to talk about this topic. Very much top of mind for me, for our team, and for our customers. But my name is Mica. I'm one of the founders at Amplemarket. Just in a nutshell, Amplemarket is an all-in-one sales platform powered by AI. Again, a lot of buzzwords, but basically what this means is that we provide you, you meaning a B2B company, with everything that you need to find, connect, and engage with your next potential customer. And my background is not in sales. I was actually doing a PhD in high energy particle physics, and I have two co-founders, and the three of us are very technical. So it's like not we come from a sales background. So we're two physicists and one computer scientist, and we just serendipitously walked into the sales growth space that we found to be a bit broken for several reasons, but we kind of back in 2018 thought machine learning should solve some of these problems, some of these repeat tests that we see in sales. And so we wanted to tackle some of these problems. And fast forward to 2022, 2023, with the avenue of GPTs, all of that becomes very obvious. And, it's actually very much tied to our mission at Amplemarket to actually make sales teams more productive. But in the end, what we do is that we help corporations grow faster, scale faster, find their next customers and connect with them in a more meaningful manner.
Yeah, that sounds great. And if you look at where sales is coming from, a big part of it is still intuitive. No, we are moving into the data-driven part. But AI goes a bit further and on multiple layers. So when we start maybe from the point of the strategy and then we go deeper into the work of the AE, when we look at strategy, what are the potential use cases that you can think about, things that are actually happening and so forth?
It's a very good question. The way I so if you and I were to actually sit down with multiple sales teams, again with multiple roles at the SDR, BDR, or account executive level, right? And if we were to try and evaluate the best reps and what they do, again on a strategy standpoint, they do what I call a lot of uncaptured or invisible activity, right? So nowadays, the way you measure a team is by KPIs, and they have goals and they have quotas, and you expect them to do so many activities to actually get to their goals and their quotas. Yeah. But you'll be surprised. The best salespeople do a lot of uncaptured activity. So they might not be the ones that actually do the most activity, but they're doing a ton of invisible activity, and that's what you meant potentially by strategy. They're actually doing a lot of research into their accounts and into the individuals that they should contact, into they're going to Google News, they're going to Bing News, and that's a lot of activity that the CRM can't capture. But that's a lot of activity that is actually fundamental to be really good at your job or to build meaningful connections, especially when it comes to mid-market or enterprise type of sales cycles. And I believe that there, on the strategy side of things, if you think about AIs, they're way better than humans at that, right? They're better than humans at research because, GPTs can actually collect a ton of data and they have a lot of recall, much more than us humans, right? And I would say three things. They have the research, AIs are much better. On the context side, they're much better than humans, right? So not only can they do the research, but they can actually connect all of these data points much faster and better than we can. And then their third point, I would say relevancy or personalization. If they combine research, context, and then they actually can throughput something that connects all of these data points, and they're really good at inferring what the next best word to say is. And so if you do the right research, you're bound to get or to be better at your job as an AE or a BDR or an SDR. This doesn't mean that just using a GPT is going to make you better. No, it's the research part is fundamental. Just knowing what we were talking about prompts earlier, just knowing what to prompt or what to feed the algorithm and the GPT is actually fundamental.
Yeah, and then do you think then that, or is your opinion then that everything will be automated from that research part, or will there still be a kind of a guiding or directing of the salesperson into what type of information he or she is looking for?
So that's I would say it's not black or white. I would say like it's dark gray in a sense, to me at least. And by dark gray, I mean like you can automate a lot, and but you can still like let the human help the machine find the best next step. I'll give you a few examples. Imagine that you're given company A as a target, and then within company A you have like five potential people that could be your entry point as a seller, right? Um, the question is like you have five people. How do you infer who's the best person to reach out to right now, right? How do you infer that? And that's a tricky problem. Like, so you need to do a lot of research. How do you know that that person is actually more intent than the next person, etc.? And how do you actually connect with them in the most meaningful manner for them? Because if I connect with Cedric, I'm going to say something. If I connect with Mica, I'm going to say something else. Because we're both like going to bed at night thinking about different problems and different things. And so you really want to get me there. And so like imagine that you have a button that is actually able to do the research for you. And that research can be almost fully automated. Like the button goes into Bing News and Google News and I don't know, things like funding data. Like it goes into you as a human being, looks for you on like Google, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, looks at things that you've been liking, the things that you've been posting, looks at your blog post. Imagine just being able to do that within seconds and then resurfacing all of these intent points to a seller and then just letting the seller decide what's the next best action, right? But if you think about like prioritizing the five people, I think a machine can actually fully automate that and say like, hey, here's why I believe that you should contact Cedric if you want to sell Amplemarket, because Cedric was actually just reading this post about the 10x AE by Tomasz Tunguz. He liked it and he commented on it, and the comment actually said this thing, and so he's completely thinking about like the way that AI can actually increase productivity for sales teams and for AE specifically, and that's very much aligned with Amplemarket. And by the way, here's Cedric spends so much time on LinkedIn because he likes posts a lot, and so like you should actually target Cedric on LinkedIn if you can by engaging with one of his posts or by sending him a LinkedIn message instead of like going through email or cold call. I think AIs like kind of like assisted. They will act as kind of assistants and just nudging humans into the next best action to do. Because if just one thing, like sales today is so much about like you having to kind of like do the same thing over and over again. What if you could actually get like push notifications as a seller and say, hey, Cedric, I believe that today you should do this because like a new article came out on Google News about this company. And so this unlocks this opportunity for you. And by the way, Mica here is the best person to reach out to because this, and that. And then like, I'll let you make the judgment whether or not you want to act on it.
Yeah, because a lot of it's still, prompt-based can be very reactive, but it looks like everything is becoming then much more proactive. And we just spoke about, or just mentioned the 10x AE, about the post from Thomas. So in our previous conversation, we were talking about, okay, in my opinion, there's a lot of effort on working with people that are not really sales people, and we really need to try to make them better. While I'm really much more incensed in focusing on A players and people with potential in bringing them even higher. So when we then talk about the 10x AE, we go deeper into this in a few seconds. But then also, your opinion in our conversation prior to the recording was that B players have so much more potential thanks to the technology. Can you go deeper into this?
Yes, I think I see like a technology for me is always kind of like always acts like a rising tide, and with a rising tide, all boats rise, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been just generally true for like the computer, the internet, like whatever, like the smartphone, and now AI. And for me, AI is just like a new technology that will help like humans become more productive and do better, or just have better lives in general. And to me, if you think about like all of these things, like the research, the context, the personalization aspect of things, where I believe that AIs specifically, or GPTs for the vertical of sales, and again, to them, mostly focusing on a vertical of sales, although like you can actually adapt this to many other verticals. But if you think about those things, if you're able to nudge the human into what it should be doing, or if you do even things for them, I just thought about like an interesting analogy, but I'll give you that one in a second. But everybody is bound to do better. So like, I'll give you like, you're in sales. So you know that at some point we're all like email sales was a thing. And so like we were just writing all of our emails by hand and then sending one email one by one. And then like you have like email automation tools like Yesware or Outreach and ToutApp, like back in the day, they come out and then they allow you to now do mass email sales. Now, before that, people were productive. After that, people are more productive. So if you take like at the distribution of productivity for all of these people, even the B players just, for the sake of like being able to just send a ton of emails, they were actually getting more results because they're actually firing more bullets in a sense. But the tail of that distribution, the ones that were good, just became way better. So like, but it's a rising tide, and I believe that AI is kind of like the same thing. Although there's like I think there's like a few fundamental things that at least on the prospecting side, the lead generation side, that can drastically reduce like the difference between like a B player and an A player, where like a B player might be coming across as an A player because of an algorithm, where they can, but when they connect with the humans, right? So if they're not as good at connecting with humans and kind of like driving a sale forward, right? So that's where you can still see the difference. But on the research side, on the prospecting side, I think you can truly like potentially reduce the barrier there from B players to A players.
Yeah,
I don't know if
then
this
when
makes
we talk
sense.
about, yeah, that definitely makes sense. It's very logic. And then if you look at the next step, the 10x AE, um, in my opinion, I really think it is coming. People that understand how to use prompts right now to lead to those massive productivity gains. And at the same time, there will be more and more people. So I think there is a gap right now that you will have the people that get it, how to do it, that will have those massive productivity gains. And do you see a potential 10x gain in productivity?
Um, that's a good question. We can actually like instead of like thinking about like that step gain in terms of like 10x, we can actually go by like small incremental wins, right? So for example, let's start like with the research phase. A good AE technically, like, and again, self-reported by customers, spends between 30 minutes to 3 hours researching an account and researching all of the individuals involved in that account before they even decide with whom he wants to connect first, right? So just there, like you can already see if you do like 30 minutes to 3 hours every single day, and if you're able to just click a button and get answers to your questions within a minute, massive. Like it's just that we would agree that it's actually a massive thing. Then if you're like another example, if you're handed over, like which many have like a segment or a region or a territory, like and they're handed over like a set of like named accounts.
Yeah.
How do they prioritize them nowadays? How do they know like, okay, like I should go after company A but not company B right now because company B, there's like a very high likelihood that they're still in a contract with one of my competitors, so like I really want to approach them only in 3 months. So like, and there's a lot of data that you can actually leverage to help humans prioritize this list. But today, AEs are not able to do that. So they're actually targeting the wrong accounts or at the wrong time. And so this leads to like declining gains. And so, but I believe that if you think about all of these like small incremental gains, thinking about like the 10x AE becomes something that is like very tangible, right? Yeah.
Yeah, true. And so embracing technology definitely there and learning. So I think then getting to use that technology ASAP might be something that companies are looking for, because right now when we're in like in a, let me say in a challenging market situation where efficiency is crucial, startups having a limited run rate left. So this might be the way actually to start investigating this. But it's also the knowledge, because everybody's still trialing, still testing it. In your opinion, how do you see it happening in companies to make those massive shifts, or start making those massive shifts within organizations? Because it also has to do with culture, not just with the tools.
Yes, it's a very good question. I think if you there was like a report that came out by Lightspeed Ventures, like a VC here in the Bay Area, and in that report they actually created a bunch of like their invested portfolio companies, and the vast majority of them were actually unlocking new budgets for AI productivity gains, and specifically in sales. Where if you go deeper into that report, you see that like where they believe that AI will have like a major effect or a major impact in terms of productivity, it's going to be the prospecting function, the
Yeah.
BDR function, SDR function. So the companies, like, it's actually something that if you talk with CROs, with business sales, like, I think that's very much top of mind, because what they're looking for is to really, one, they carry a number, so they really want to hit that number, and to hit that number, they need to make sure that their sales teams are actually very productive. And so it's a change, but I think it's a it's more of like a technical change. It's more like adopting a new technology within your stack, or just like having one of your vendors that it just enables that technology within your stack, versus having a major shift. Because I think if AI is really well executed, it will just like seamlessly integrate your day-to-day motions. Meaning, like, if I'm an SDR or BDR doing research, like the AI, like the way I'm doing research today is like so broken, right? So I'm using a bunch of different platforms for data. I'm using a bunch of different platforms for news events, and I'm trying to agglomerate that into like just one spreadsheet, and then just doing a lot of manual work to just sort things out. But AI can actually do that very easily for you. And so for the manager, it's kind of like a no-brainer, right? Because like now the rep, by just clicking a button, can actually do way better. That's been our approach to this, just making it so smooth into your day-to-day motions, just making it so that it's like it's just a button or just a thing that comes to you, and you don't have to learn a massive new thing. So abstract. So maybe you're thinking a lot about prompts and prompts engineer. I'm trying to abstract that as much as I can from the individual, and just making it so that they now can click a button and we resurface a lot of like interesting data for them.
Yeah, clear. And then I'm gonna unlock the visionary in Mica, where you have given already some very nice stuff there. When you look at all the different suppliers, they either have their own language models, or it's a prompt. They have some prompts over ChatGPT. So they have all these different dialects, I'm gonna call them, coming within a customer. So do you see them evolving into type of a consolidation that you will have one company based AI as well, or do you see vendors leading with their own dialects, with their own AI, with their own niche solutions?
That's a very good question, and potentially my answer. I will disagree with my answer like in a few weeks or so, but because I've changed my mind on this topic a lot over the past months. Whenever I saw like like I discovered AI through Jasper. I started like using. So a friend of mine told me about Jasper. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, this is cool! Like, this is so interesting. I could also already see myself using it in my
Summer
day to
last
day.
year.
Yeah, summer last year, and then like end of year last not last year, but like end of year 22, then GPT comes out, and it's just like, okay, cool, like this is actually the next level. And when they came out, I was thinking that like OpenAI, I think they still have like a huge edge versus like anything else that is out there, but I thought it would be way harder for companies or startups to pop up with like their own versions, or their own models. And so, for example, if you take a look at even open source models, like how good they are today versus where they used to be, I thought that you would need way more money to actually get there. And so I thought it was impossible. Like, you can never compete with like OpenAI, because they're so well funded. And so like it's going to be like this pinnacle, which might still be true, that they're going to win most of the market. But I see a lot more companies, bubble up within like the LLM GPT space than I thought I would see. And so I see a lot of more interesting stuff happening at the open source level, which could leverage, any company could actually leverage an open source model, like, and train them on their own specific data sets to actually build their own internal AIs, which is like a good thing, honestly, to have in the world. So at some point I thought, no, one company is going to own all of this. Today, I changed my opinion a little bit. I think the competition is there. And so, for example, if you take a look at Grok by Twitter or X, right? So Elon Musk like
Mhm.
started like this department for like their own like GPT competitor. And if you take a look at the results and the benchmarks, the comparisons with like even a ChatGPT, or GPT-4, the differences are they're there, but like they're way closer than I expected them to be in such a short period of time. So in short, it's like I believe that there's going to be more companies building more models, and potentially with the open source models, like more companies internally can actually train and have their own machine learning departments to build like specific verticalized models. Now, if you ask me about the AGI thing and how AGI can actually change this, that's like, well, I would need to first interact with AGI to see what that would mean. But yeah, I think more companies are going to be there than not. But I might be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Clear. Okay. Clear. So, and then if you look at the technology, right? So there are two questions. So on the one hand, what good use is having a prospecting tool based on AI? If you're going to start outbounding, but all your mails enter spam. So what is the answer there?
First of all, like I love that question. We should ask why are all of our emails are entering spam. Like, what is the underlying reason for that?
Yeah.
And I think we just mentioned this, but it's like we like in sales we've defaulted to doing quantity over quality, right? So everybody, like if you talk to sales leaders, they all like want to focus on quality of outreach. And then if you take a look at what the teams are doing and what they're measuring is number of activities. So they're measuring quantity, but they want quality, which is kind of like a weird thing to me. And so like the reason why things land in spam is that like a few years ago we've invented this a tool to actually mass email people, and companies started like mass emailing people indiscriminately. Like you don't really care about like the quality of like prioritizing accounts, prioritizing individuals, and like even like just having some relevancy added to your emails. And that happens today. I bet you receive a lot of like cold emails. I do receive them too, and I respect the struggle there for the SDRs and BDRs, but so little of them are actually like really personalized. So what ends up happening is that they will start landing in spam because you're sending like 1,000 emails per day and they all look 99.9% alike. So that's a problem with spam, and that's a problem. That's why like all of these vendors are actually combating spam, like the Yahoos and whatever, like the Googles of the world. And but I believe that if you default to more quality, sorry, and you go from 1,000 emails to 50 emails, really high quality, and they're all like drastically different, it doesn't mean that like 100% of your emails will land in the primary inbox. But as a matter of fact, like we test that every single day, like, and we try to default to quality instead of quantity, and we have like really healthy open rates and engagement rates because we focus on intent and signals to provide more quality and relevant outreach. And so you need to go out of these out of the quantity motion into the quality motion. Do you know what's interesting? And maybe like it's something that I was thinking about potentially. I'd love to have your take on this one. But you know, like how everybody's kind of like doing like the cold calling, the parallel dialers, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is spray and pray? Spray and pray is like you have a huge list of people, you have a huge list of accounts, and you just like send them the same thing. So you kind of don't care what's happening there. You're just like trying to fire as many emails as possible to get something in back, right? And so I think parallel dialers are just that, but for the phone. It's like you don't care,
Yeah.
like you just like want to dial as many people as possible so that you can have as many conversations as possible. And again, that shows you that sales leaders and sales teams don't care really about the personalization, or it's not the thing that is top of mind. They care about the results, which is important, but they always default to the quantity of things instead of the quality of things. And so because when you're parallel dialing, what's happening is like I'm dialing like 4 people at the same time. Someone picks up and it's like, okay, I don't even know who you are. I didn't prep anything. I'll just freestyle this. Right. And so that's like the new spray and pray that is happening there. And that actually, like everybody thinks that will work, but that will work until it doesn't anymore. Right. It's just a setting for Android or Apple to just say, whenever like some weird number calls me, you just send it straight away to voicemail, which I receive so many, look, I could show you, but I receive so many cold calls that right now I have like 36 voicemails that I need to get to. And that's all like from cold calls because I now send them all to voicemail. And so I think if you think about like sales and like the potential channels that we can use, there are social channels, there are like phone channels, there are like email channels, there are like in-person channels like events or field sales. You just need to be careful about how you use them, because if you default to quantity, like you break any channel and you break the trust from anybody. But if you do high quality outreach, look, if I receive a really good email, I will always reply, or a really good connection request on LinkedIn, I will always reply. And the problem is that like it's like you're producing too much noise across too many different channels.
Yeah,
But
true.
if you default to quality, I think you'll do that. But like, what do you think about the parallel dialers? I'd be curious to have your take there.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and it can be done in a transactional sales where you still have like selling phone licenses or anything else. But when you from mid-market sales on, you definitely cannot do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Might have productivity gains, but in the end, I think you can maintain it as an individual. You go nuts having to go back to back to back to all these calls and having to discover, see if they're a fit and stuff like this. So this is too exhausting, first of all. And definitely, when you talk about quality over quantity, um, there is a big opportunity here also for human coaching. So I
Mm.
don't think everything will lead to automation. When I was leading people, I also saw that, as you said, really people with not the highest activity, they were often the best performers because they had that research. And very often on the high level, when they look at the dashboarding, they see the activity, but the activity on sich in German is just a dumb metric if you don't
Yeah.
have the context around it, if you don't
Mm.
go for these bigger deals where you need it to do the research.
Yeah.
What the coaching opportunity is in leading teams is that uh, when you have new hires and this is people with a low activity in between brackets, low
Mm-hmm.
visible activity, then another way of pitching it might maybe a bit direct and they take on the outside bad behavior as in low activity
Yep.
different type of pitching, and they have two times bad examples. While they, again, you need to know the context, and then in coaching you can start working on this is what happens behind the scenes, some things that you don't see within the research and so forth.
Mm.
But then when we look at the automation part, because we're talking about the sales,
Mm-hmm.
we also have the automation on the procurement part, and I think that is a big risk where we also will keep on needing humans to do that part, which is
Mm.
building
Mm-hmm.
value. Otherwise,
Mm.
we'll have a transactional, we have a cost-driven conversation, not based on value and on the
Mm.
why and all that stuff.
Mm.
So, what is your take on this?
It's a very good point, and I think a lot about that. And I think, like in the end, like it's still humans buying from humans, right?
Yeah,
What AIs can do is kind of like help. So sales is all about trade, right? If you think about it, it's just like
yeah,
you have like a company is just a group of people that bring about like a service or a product into a marketplace, and the world is big and noisy, and so like it's like one of the biggest challenges for any company is how do I find the next right customer or the next right prospect that is going to buy from me in the next whatever however many weeks. And so, but that's a problem that can be solved with AIs. But in the end, if your product or your service is not good enough, like if you're not able to talk value, and value is still humans, like it's me
hmm
connecting with you, and it's
hmm
like us going through a sales motion, and you and I having trusted each other to actually go forward, like with this like agreement that is going to be a multi-year agreement, and we're actually going to commit to like a long-lasting partnership. But I think there, it's still like I truly believe it's humans. I think AIs can help you to the connection with a human. Once you and I connect and we're willing to talk, I think there, like it's still like it's the effect of the rep. That's where, like I said, like the 10x AE needs to be good at like the connection with human because like even you can have like AIs give prompts and stuff and whatever, but but if you're not good at that, at driving your deal and building trust and just talking value, then you're not going to go anywhere really. And I think the procurement side of things is also very interesting. Like imagine this world where you have AIs to reach out, and imagine a world where everybody is kind of like an AI assistant somehow.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm trying to sell to you, and you come, something like prioritizes you as an individual. I'm trying to sell to you, and you on your side, you also have your AI, and your AI basically is your assistant in your mailbox, for example, that is actually knows your priorities because every single week you, Cedric, talk with your AI and say like, my priorities are this thing, that thing, and that thing, and I want to solve this
mhm,
problem. And so your AI could actually be talking with my AI, where it's just like my AI reaches out, oh, I saw that Cedric did this thing. And your AI was like, oh yeah, Cedric told me last week that it was actually interesting. And so like the AIs could actually like matchmaking, like how matchmaking for like these dating apps works, like where you're swiping left or right. You could actually have like these AIs actually
yeah.
connecting human beings on problems and
Yeah.
value that they want to bring in the world.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, then in sales they speak a lot about the buyer journey, which I do not really believe in, and for two reasons.
Mm.
The big reason is that the buyer journey starts from the awareness
Yeah.
period, but the unawareness is the huge majority of the market. And I think this
Good
can
point.
also be an opportunity for AI then to talk to the other AI assistants or to start
Yeah.
feeding the people with the relevant information to start building that awareness.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is being done manually, but it can help them in also their building efficiency.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I'm always like, that's a very good. Okay, I'm thinking out loud right now, but like, it's almost like you could tell your AI, go do research because I have this problem and I want to solve it. And so, like, just do as much research on in terms of like all of the companies that are solving this problem out there, and kind of like, well, connect me with them. So that's a very interesting one because like the
But if you
research.
don't know it, but
Yeah.
even if you don't know the problem, so you say, I'm going to look for
Yeah.
this
I see.
problem,
Mm-hmm.
but you miss a whole context, a whole
Mm.
point of view that maybe you as a startup are trying to enter because, this is a very disruptive solution.
Mm.
So that is something that is for me crucial, especially if you're a
Mm-hmm.
challenger sale,
Yeah.
a challenger brand, a startup. Otherwise, what do companies do, or what do tech people do? They go to Gartner, they listen to
Yeah.
Microsoft, they
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they they Google things, or they listen to
Yep.
Google Trends and stuff like
G2
this. So
reviews. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So they're very limited within the research. So
Yes,
how
I
do you
agree.
break in into this?
That's interesting. It's almost like, but I think there, like even like your assistant could actually bring you more. Again, the data needs to be somewhere and needs to be present somewhere. But I think like they're like a machine. Again, remember, like I think GPTs are way better than humans at research and recall, meaning they
Yeah,
can do research much faster. And this is true for anything, right? They can do research much faster and they can recall stuff like much better than humans. And so, like, I think there, we humans are always going to be biased, like in our paths, like on how we actually, that's why like the incumbents are incumbents because they have a brand and they will actually be the ones that pop up in your feed because they have the marketing budget and they're the ones that actually have a lot of whatever reviews and Gartner is talking highly about them because they've been in the market for a long time. But like you always have like startups coming up and kind of disrupting the marketplace, and I believe that. Again, it's that's why like you have the technology adoption curve. Like you always have the early adopters, and potentially like what we're talking about is like if you have an assistant that is actually doing this research for you, they would be much better at resurfacing some of these startups or like new products out there for us than we would as like human beings, even if we don't. You know what's interesting? Like you're saying, like you need to define the problem really well. You should try GPT and kind of like sometimes purposely just type wrong words or so. It's so again, if you're using like the paid version, it's so interesting how it actually self-corrects and it kind of like sometimes knows I'm sometimes prompting GPT to give me like something and I'm like, okay, this was not a good prompt, but right now I don't have time to actually, and the output is always like better than I expected it to be versus if I type like a slightly, if you go to Google and you type like I don't know, like your Google search is not like perfect, you get down like the wrong rabbit hole. But GPT kind of like self-corrects whatever context you're trying to give it and kind of gives you more context. So I believe that like on the research and recall side of things, even there, if we're trying to look for new solutions, and I believe that like this can help too, honestly. So
yeah,
startup idea there.
yeah, exactly. I was actually just thinking about the artificial intelligence search optimization rather than pure SEO.
But think about it. Well, that's a very interesting topic, right? So like you go to Google and you do a search, and then you serve all of these ads, again, biased things. I'm not saying that kind of a bias towards something, right? And
Yeah.
then you have like results. But imagine having a GPT that actually knows everything about you, right? Let's take this very simple example, which is the example of like buying a new product. I don't know,
Yeah.
like let's imagine that you want to buy a new backpack, for example, and so like you're into hiking, so you travel a lot, and you always carry your computer and whatever. And so like you have all of these things that are specific about you, and your GPT, your assistant, would know that for a fact because like you talk with them when you buy when you purchase a trip, like you talk with them like when you're packing your stuff, whatever. Like it knows everything about you. It knows your interests. It knows that you bought some other products. It knows that you're techie for some reason, right? But today, like buying a, I'm just giving you this. I'm really literally thinking out loud. But like today, if you go to Google, you get like biased by like the companies that are actually willing to pay the most for like that search, right? You go to Amazon, it's even worse because Amazon is like now giving you the result of the backpack that was built by Amazon, which is like also tricky. I'm not saying that these are bad things. They're just suboptimal because you're always skewed towards one, either the company that is the most popular, and potentially you don't want the most popular backpack out there. Maybe you'd want to know that specific backpack that's kind of like that very niche brand, whatever, out there that doesn't have the money to advertise to you would exist. And I believe that if you have, and again, then you have other sites that you can actually do and do your research. But again, now we're talking about a ton of research, and you're really willing to actually overthink the purchase of a backpack. But if you have like an AI assistant, they would be able to say like, okay, like, what backpack should I buy if I want a new backpack? And they would actually give you 3 results that would be like super surprising to you because they know you, right? And you're not the average human Amazon buyer, you're not the average whatever, like Google buyer, but it actually would actually bring the thing that are more relevant to you. And I think that's like where GPTs are very interesting from a search perspective and standpoint. So I don't know how GPTs are going to change search, but it's actually something to really
fascinating. Cool. So Mica, we are actually going a bit over time, so I would like to briefly bring it back to sales. So almost all the companies are looking now how to use AI, how to use automation, how to use language models on making their company more efficient. So if you would be one of those company owners or the sales leaders, what would you do as first steps? Let me say the first 3-4 steps to start with AI in your sales work.
Can I be the biased answer is like I would talk with Amplemarket.
Good,
I,
good, good,
I,
good,
I would
good.
get I would get a demo with Amplemarket just because like if you think about like the sales leaders, they know like the data platforms out there, they know the engagement platforms out there, and they know like the intent platforms out there. Just think about Amplemarket. It's kind of like something that brings all of these things together with a real layer of like today we call it AI. Back when we launched, we called it machine learning because we've always been like a machine learning first company, meaning when we launched, we had like sentiment analysis models, feature extraction models, all of these things running in production back in 2020. Nowadays, like we have like not only those, but LLMs and GPTs actually working in production. And so like if you come to Amplemarket, there's like AI is pervasive across our product from a data standpoint, from engagement standpoint, from a relevancy and personalization and research standpoint. So, but again, not should talk with them. But anyways, if you're not, I would really want to default to quality instead of quantity. Right. So if I think about that, and if I think about the strength of these GPT models, I would try to find something that would make my reps better at research, identifying context, and then from that context, producing relevancy. That's basically what I would focus on. So I would focus a lot of my efforts on the potential top of funnel prospecting side of things, because I think there the gains are massively obvious. And it's not like just using ChatGPT because, you still need to prompt it and give it the right data, right? So, but if I was looking for something, that's basically what I would be looking for. And so you can make your BDRs and your SDRs massively more productive. And think about it, like we were talking about this thing, but like, think about that's the function that is out of college. These are the people that know nothing about sales. They're just out of college. So you need to teach them not only sales, but then like you need to teach them like how to use like the 7 different tools that you have in your tech stack for sales. And then wait, 3 months from now, you have to carry a quota. And if you don't hit that quota, you're going to get fired. And so I don't think like BDRs and SDRs are really set up for success at most companies. And I don't think that managers have a lot of time to enable them properly. And I think that if you give them like this, an AI that helps them just be better out of the box, because out of the box, they can be better with an AI. I think that's like where you have a lot of like, that's where you have a lot of massive, massive gains. But yeah, I'd focus on that, like the BDR SDR function for now.
Great advice. And I had an amazing chat with you, Mica. I really enjoyed our conversation. So where can the people reach out to you?
So they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, my profile, Micael Oliveira, and they can also email me. So feel free to email me again. I'm inviting cold emails about Mica@amplemarket.com. Happy to chat, happy to take any demos or just to share more about like how we're thinking about AI in sales. But yeah, thank you for having me, Cedric. This was a lovely conversation. Hopefully, we should revisit this and all of these things that we talked about to see if we're right or wrong about them in a few months.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Have a nice day and thank you so much.
Thank you.